All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you're tuning in from. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you are having a beautiful day. So today we're talking about real estate. It is the foundation of wealth, but for most people these days, it seems out of reach, locked behind borders or gatekeepers, institutions, or it may just be, financially out of reach for some of us. But that might be changing, not in theory, but in code. And today I'm joined by somebody who's not just watching that shift, he's helping to drive it. So Diarmuid Maddock from PropChain, thanks for joining us today, man.
Yeah, got the name spot on. So
Nice.
I appreciate that. I appreciate having me on, Anthony. So obviously, Polyhedra, you guys are in the forefront of the whole ZK revolution, right? And there's a lot of application that could be had in real estate for ZK, not just real estate, but also RWAs. So very keen on diving this conversation into today, and hopefully we can have an entertaining convo.
Likewise, man. I'm looking forward to it. But, I think before we even dive into the tech, I think I'd love to know a little bit more, like a high level overview of, what, pain points PropChain is solving, and a little bit about you, man. Like what led you to, or inspired you to get into this, this cross section of real world assets, property and Web3.
Yeah, cool. So maybe I can give a little bit about myself first, and then I can get into the pain points. So yeah, my name is Diarmuid. I am from Ireland. I've been working in RWA tokenization specifically for the past 3 years now. I originally started off working as an operations manager for an Ethereum-based on-chain credit marketplace. So our whole piece was tokenizing real-world assets, using them as collateral, so we could support the financing of SME loans. This use case as small, medium-sized enterprises. Financing gap there is massive for them. So I was there for about 2.5 years. Went off, done some consultancy, some other projects. Went and traveled myself, and kind of really just waited around until the right opportunity came about. And then PropChain did. Real estate obviously is a massive case for tokenization, but I hadn't worked on it previously, so I took a look at it. Took a look at the offer, took a look at the team, and I go, whoa, okay, right. They have a lot going on here. So I've been with them 6 months now. Been doing BD, mostly focusing on like the whole business development expansion of our Web3 operations specifically, and our partnerships there. So it's been a hell of a ride so far.
Brilliant, man. I'd love to dive into dig into that a little bit. So you've been in the trenches the last 6 months with PropChain. I'm interested, like what kind of conversations are you having day to day? What kind of sticky points are you seeing, and what are you seeing that's really like inspiring people, about the business?
Yeah. So, I mean, day-to-day conversations, right? It's a lot of it is on Teams with my fellow team members. The amount of problems that pop up in Web3 are ridiculous, especially, you're dealing with external parties on Telegram all day. It gets messy. There's a lot of problems to solve, but it's fun, right? It really is fun. And I'm very grateful that I can get to work in an industry where you can, have so much collaborative opportunity with different people across different areas of the globe. Like there's no other industry like it. So day to day, there's a lot of those problem solving, right? And then it's spawning opportunities for me personally. It's keeping up to date with market trends and how we can potentially use what's trending in the market right now to our own advantage, whether that be from a partner standpoint, a partner that can help us with distribution, or maybe it's the latest tech that we can add to our tech stack, or maybe it's something crafty in the back end. Maybe it's like an innovative legal structure that we could possibly use ourselves to, again, further scale up our own operations. Things like this, it's spotting the opportunities in the market. That's what I really love, and as you said, I am in the trenches. I'm in there daily. Before I came onto PropChain, I was actually doing my own personal branding with RWAs, like the whole commentary piece, keeping track of like all the RWA tokens that were in the space, their assets themselves. So I really do love it. It really is a hobby for me, as well as obviously professional work.
Brilliant, man. Yeah, you can always tell when somebody's like loves what they do, and it is a big space and it's an evolving space, right? So it's great to get some insight from you, man, and to hear about your story. What, in this day to day, and obviously, you mentioned having, traditional background in the business as well as the decentralized Web3 aspect, tokenized aspect. What's the hardest part that you've seen in getting, say, these traditional real estate players to even take Web3 seriously or to onboard?
Massive, right? So there's the skepticism, right? Does it work, right? And that comes from a multitude of points. Does it work from, of course, does the actual product, does the tech work? Does the actual compliance behind it stand in court? Is it relevant to the jurisdiction? Does it apply correctly to the jurisdictions that you're issuing assets in? Dealing with custodians, etc. There's a lot of different points within the value life cycle that someone could look at and be like, is that, can I put my trust in that? So there's a lot of that. But we found that we've actually balanced the two, right? And I think probably this is a good intros to actually what PropChain is and, the whole company itself and how we're all structured. So PropChain is the Web3 arm of prop.com. So when I mean Web3 arm, I mean everything to do with crypto, anything to do with like on-chain distribution rails. That's what PropChain is. We are that bridge for prop.com over into the crypto space. And with prop.com has grown now into quite an institutionalized traditional real estate asset manager and developer, right? So a lot of our customers, their family offices, completely non-crypto native. So there's two sides to the business, right? As I said, family offices, nothing to do with crypto, and our investment products are tailored for them. There's no USDC involved. There's just cash involved, right?
Gotcha.
Then we have the Web3 side, which is like opening up access to some of these investments for the on-chain users. So yeah,
cool. Yeah,
hybrid.
Brilliant, man. Obviously, there's two, strong verticals there. How much do they support each other? Like, I'd imagine, is there a lot of crossover with your colleagues? Like before we dive into the customer journey in this, like, is there a lot of crossover there? I'd imagine you're working pretty tightly with a lot of the guys from Prop.
Oh yeah, complete crossover there for sure. Because I mean, like, I don't want to get too like jump ahead. I think we obviously need to provide more context as to what we're doing. But one of our new yield bearing products that we have coming out into the market is actually a hybrid product, right? So the way it works is it has a capital stack. You have a senior tranche and you have a junior tranche. The senior tranche obviously get first priority in terms of repayments. They take a little bit less. So this is more so suited for institutions with a little bit more or less risk adversity. And then we have the junior tranche, which is a little bit more higher risk, but they get later repayment rights. And that's actually more suited for the crypto audience, right? So very much so we're working the PropChain team, we're all one team. We're working together on how we can best structure these type of products and ultimately provide the best investor experience for both the junior, aka the crypto people, and the senior, which is the more traditional family offices, etc.
Very cool, man. I can say this is I worked in real estate for a few years in my 20s as an agent, actually. A bit alpha about me to the community, but I even back then, like I was working as a buyer's agent, right? And because it was quite hard even then for people to be getting into the market, and coming from Australia, like the Australian dream as opposed to the American dream is like home ownership, right? Everyone's entitled to own a home, and it seems to be out of reach, and it's getting even further out of reach, right? So fractional ownership and investment is a very interesting idea, and I think will appeal to a lot of people, especially that are coming up now and are super deep in this space. But so I'd like you to just like walk me through it, man. Like, you know, I'm a first time user. Like what actually happens when someone invests, you know, through prop chain?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd actually like to take a step back, right?
Sure.
I'd actually like to just talk about you asked a question in regards to you know, what issues or what pain points prop chain
Yep.
solve. So we're not trying to solve any singular problem, right? We're just redesigning the access, right? So you said there at the start of the podcast, real estate, though it's one of the most trusted, you know, globally understood asset classes, it's structurally exclusive, right? You need large capital, you need to know the right people, the legal know-how, and a lot of time involved, right? So that naturally excludes most of the world. I think you can agree. So that's where really prop chain emerged, right? We emerged from the belief that if you can break down those barriers and access, you don't just digitize real estate, you can actually democratize the strategy behind it. So, you know, we're not just putting property on chain, right? You can own a piece of this property. No, we're not doing that. And that's the differentiator between us and maybe other real estate RWA projects. We're making or tokenizing the investment strategy behind those properties, right? So giving people access to the same access we have in terms of, you know, buying, like the current state of the European real estate market. There's a lot of distressed assets on the market right now, non-performing loans, but there's a lot of uptake in private credit, right? So there's a massive opportunity there in terms of upside. But again, that's only available traditionally for a very small minority of people.
Right.
But we're making this investment strategy accessible for everyone really that wants to get exposure to some of this real estate opportunity that's currently out there in the market. So, you know, in terms of our pipeline and our developments, it's, you know, a diverse amount of, we're in like, I believe 7 markets now, 7 different markets, mostly in Europe. So we have Germany, Luxembourg, obviously Dubai, where we're based. That's a lot of our strongholds in there. We have in Mexico too. So, you know, our investment strategy has a blend of, you know, ground up developments, income generating assets, value add developments. There's a lot there, and our goal is to unlock that pipeline for anyone, anywhere, without needing to wait months or have large ticket size. You know, rely on opaque intermediaries, fill in PDFs, like all these pain points. We want to abstract that away and give people the rights to, you know, really actually get their skin in the game when it comes to the wonderful opportunities that are out there in real estate. So yeah, I digressed a little bit away from your original point, but I love it, man. Yeah, that's the pain point we're solving, I guess.
Yeah, very, very cool. So obviously you're in quite an extensive amount of markets. I can imagine there's a lot of crossover in you know, in terms of compliance or, you know, regulations or infrastructure in Europe. But you mentioned, you know, you're in Dubai, you're in Mexico. So like, what do you see as being the most, like, what has the most friction today that you've seen in bringing real world assets on chain? You know, is it compliance? Is it, you know, custody, infrastructure? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say compliance or custody infrastructure itself is inherently has inherently problems. I think the problem is coordination between the three, right? So compliance, right? A lot of jurisdictions is very clear compliance in regards to tokenized assets, but the issue there is they're very jurisdiction specific, meaning they're then siloed, right? So bringing capital in from Europe or onboarding retail in Asia or issuing assets in Dubai, right? It all requires different playbooks. So there's a point of friction there. In terms of custody still obviously mostly lives off chain, So land registries, legal entities, things like this. Even when tokenized, there's a lot of reliance on paper trails. So there's that. And then there's obviously the infrastructure in crypto is even though it's progressing, it's still not quite there. It's still quite fragmented. I would love to see ZK technology being used across the board, because I think it actually would solve a lot of the pain points we see in terms of infrastructure, being able to communicate with each other in regards to like things like KYC, abstract that away, use ZK technology. There's a lot of opportunity there, but yeah, I think overall it's the all three. The problem is coordination there, but that's where the work that we put in is about building abstraction layers. So taking away the complexities from the user facing front end, with ZK technology obviously being an example of this. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. I was actually just going to ask you to dig a little bit deeper into that, like how our ZK tech, plays a role in enabling this infrastructure. And I think you've done nicely there. And you did mention a few key aspects. Could you dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, so definitely see tools like Polyhedra ZK Bridge play a critical part potentially in making RWAs portable across chains, right? Because the issue is, right, you have an investor on Polygon, right, who does KYC on Polygon. He wants to bridge his asset over to, let's say, Ethereum. Now, all of a sudden, he has to do KYC again on Ethereum. That's a pain point, right? But again, this is where the opportunity comes in with ZK, is that you can abstract that away. You can have an entity or a person that does KYC on a specific chain automatically move his KYC across different chains, and there's no need to leak personal data. It's baked in the ZK technology itself that this is an investor. His investor eligibility has already been proved. So yeah, it's the power of ZK technology to be able to enable that cross-chain logic. Definitely reduces a lot of the friction points, compliance, and KYC, because KYC is a bit of a pain point for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And thanks for pointing that out. Obviously, like, we've been super excited to work with you guys. You're obviously such a big player in the space, and yeah, I think it's just such a great use case for ZK tech, right? And yeah, so I mean, Diarmuid, we've been waiting for a long time. We actually scheduled this chat in last month. Yeah, man. So like, super excited to get on here and have this chat with you, man. So let's jump into, I guess, like, from the user experience side of things, like in layman's. So I'm an investor. I've never invested before. I know a little bit about crypto, but I'd like to take this route. Like, this is where I'm looking for the future. I'm looking at crypto. Like, what's the user experience look like there? Can you talk me through what happens when somebody like invests or buys through PropChain?
Right. Well, you have to stay tuned, guys, because we have the PropChain D app coming very soon. So you'll inherently be able to invest in prop yields through that on-chain D app. So you're gonna have to keep your eyes peeled on our socials and make sure you keep up to date. But we've had user experience at the very forefront. Obviously, aside from all the boring stuff like compliance, make sure everything's ticked that box. The user experience is very important here, because like in crypto, we are saturated with choices for yield. You can get so much yield across different parts of the crypto globe. So what it really comes down to is a lot of it is just user experience, right? So that's going to be at the forefront. But what I will say is just keep an eye out for our socials, because we'll have the D app dropping around, hopefully by July. So
nice, some alpha, bro.
Yeah, I like it. Alpha for the Polyhedra and PropChain community that are here live.
Awesome. Thank you, man. That's great. Looking forward to it. And we will definitely, keep our eyes peeled for that. Very, very cool. So yeah, I'd like to get, I mean, can you share, like, from your perspective, like maybe a story or like even a small one, that you've seen that, maybe hit you personally, like a user experience aspects, or, like the story of somebody who invested, or something that you saw, like, hey, this is really solving a problem here, and this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, right? So, I mean, from an investor experience, you look at prop.com's track record. Everyone's a happy investor with prop.com. There's the track record has been A1 for a lot of these family offices, and a lot of our customers are actually recurring customers. So that's on the prop.com side. From the prop chain side, again, it comes down to the potential of someone being able to invest in this pipeline of assets that were previously they can't. And I think that to me is very cool. Having the ability to access something that is just traditionally people tell you, like, no, you can't do this for whatever reason. You're bringing it on chain, you make that accessible. I just think personally that's very cool. And the yields are competitive
Very
as well.
cool.
Right? It's not like we're offering like 6 to 8%. No, like we are offering upwards of 14 to 16%, right? And then we'll look towards maybe including other early liquidity provider incentives as well. And also a very friendly user experience. And where I would personally like to see tokenized real estate go, and this is where we're going to be inspired to go, is by having these yield-bearing instruments like prop yield, which I've just been discussing about, be programmable with the rest of DeFi, right? So you can use this, you can take your position, maybe create a collateralized stable coin with that. You can take that, you can plug that into Pendle, or you can plug it into maybe Aave,
Right.
Things like this. And like that's where the real unlock is for RWAs, right? Because if we don't add that extra layer of utility, all we're doing is we're just creating a compliant, or basically creating a wrapper of the existing security on chain, but there's no extra sauce, there's no extra wells, creating extra unnecessary steps. So the real unlock is with DeFi, and that's where we also are very inspired by with our work.
Man, I love how you seem to like premise the questions I'm about to ask. I was actually just about to say, like, what about, is there secondary markets, or like, what is but that's yeah, man, very nice, very, very cool. And I think you've hit the nail on the head with that question, so you can probably move on. But I think one thing, one signal I always look for in our industry is utility, right? Beyond the hype cycles, like what's standing the test of time, like what's infrastructure, and what's going to what's going to provide real value long term. And I don't think there's much more of a stable and secure choice than real estate. So yeah, very, very cool what you guys are doing. We obviously love it at Polyhedra, so and really excited about the partnership, man. So yeah, keep it going, and any more alpha that you've got to bring to our community during this chat, we'd love to hear it, man.
Yeah, I can drop some alpha for sure. So
Awesome.
we've recently started to distribute some of our, or we've actually started to tokenize some of our AUM on chain, right? So we recently listed on DeFi Llama. So I think we first listed our first property there. That was $4.3 million. Week later, that was up to 8.7 million. So we'll be working with them to get up towards the very high figures up there, because our pipeline is very big across Europe and our other markets. Total of our value of our real estate pipeline extends over 1.1 billion euros. So obviously we want to represent as much as we can on chain. So I would say keep an eye out for that. There will be more coming to DeFi Llama and to other RWA data aggregators such as RWA.xyz. Hoping to get involved with those guys. So I think what we'll see a lot of attention, a lot of onlookers come, and they can actually see that we have verified properties on chains. We're not just saying that, we're actually backing it up with on-chain proof. Yeah, in terms of some more alpha, if you follow PropChain, you'll understand the amount of commercial progress that we've had, but also progress on the token side as well. So we have a new token white paper. We have only distributed this to our exclusive DAO community, but I will give some insights into here. This will be available very soon, but again, I'll give the alpha here for the first time. So we'll completely lay out our entirety of the new outlined utility for the PropC token. So PropC is our governance token, right?
Gotcha.
And in there we have all the new utility completely lined out. So very easy for people to understand, okay, where does PropC fit into the equation? So for just to give you some insights. So for prop yield, if you want to subscribe, manage, or exit positions, participate in secondary market, we'll look to have PropC involved in that. Some of the revenue-backed token flows, we've released some figures of where we might see the amount of revenue being flowed into PropC. I think we have a target raise for over 20 million for prop yield, but for maybe the first 400k, that might be contained purely just for buyback, our buyback bucket for PropC. So I mean, there's a bunch going on, and that utility paper will be released in probably a week's time. So people can look forward to that, and they can get a better understanding of where the governance token, or utility token, I should say, fits into the equation. And yeah, a new D app coming. That'll be in June, July, as well as prop yield, which will be launching in probably August time. So a ton of stuff to look forward to for anyone that's interested in PropChain.
Brilliant, man. Thank you for the alpha and for the insights. There's a lot to look out for. You guys have been cooking over there at PropChain. You got a lot going on, and obviously a lot to roll out. So.
For we originally started off with our core focus being on retail, right? The whole vision of democratizing access to retail, democratizing access to real estate. Well, we still do have that vision, and we do have that core value. We shifted away from that maybe 2 years ago, and we were really focused on purely just the commercial side of the business. And we've grown now from a pipeline that was maybe like 125 million to over 1.1 billion now, as I mentioned, and moving away from retail to more so focused on institutions, family offices, etc. So, that kind of took away, I would say, a little bit from the marketing, the visibility, etc., that you would associate with our Web3 operations. But now it's kind of come full circle now, and we're really focused on making PropChain a household name in the Web3 space now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're right, and retail investment is so important. But as this industry is maturing, especially in like RWAs and tokenized assets, it's important, super important to get those the big players on board, because that's what's going to move the needle, and it's gonna like it's going to open the field for retail investors to have more opportunity and to grow the industry, right? So.
Right.
It makes sense, man, what you're saying, and very, very cool. Look, I know that we had to keep this one short, so I'd like just to wrap this up by asking you a question I always love to ask people, man, which is, from where you're sitting, what does the next 5 years look like in terms of maybe in PropChain, or even just let us know what you think in terms of real world assets and where things are heading, and then let everyone know where they can find you guys, like where they can follow you, and what to look at, like where they can get, like, keep an eye on the ball for all this alpha that you mentioned.
Yeah. So in 5 years' time, where PropChain is being on prop.com, we have a target of 25 billion in AUM. I have very, very strong confidence in that, obviously, myself, but just
I can see that.
And the team members, I have no doubt about it. And then in terms of our revenue targets, it's up there. So in 5 years' time, we'll see a lot of the ground up developments that we have right now, like the ones we have going on in Luxembourg. By 5 years' time, I think we'll have fully exited those properties. So we'll have made a nice lump sum from those. So yeah, like for prop.com and PropChain, it's just continued commercial success, continued scaling up in our operations and our teams and our overall presence in Europe and Dubai and some of these more so respected real estate markets, and really just solidifying our position as an institutionalized real estate asset manager. For myself and like, where do I see RWAs going in 5 years' time? I think it's going to be a battle of permissioned and permissionless. But that being said, Chainlink did facilitate that cross-chain transfer between a permissioned blockchain, which is I think owned by Onyx, which is JP Morgan, I believe. Don't quote me on that. And also Ondo chain, which is a permissionless chain. So maybe my concern about that might not still stand, but we'll see. Overall, I would like to see RWAs be more usable in the DeFi space. I think surely by 5 years' time we'll have got it together by then. Surely. And if we
hopefully,
don't,
man, it's coming hard, it's coming fast. I agree, man.
In terms of like how people can stay up to date, it's simple, really. Just join the Telegram, same as any other crypto community. Follow us on Twitter, and we'll be dropping consistent alpha for you guys to enjoy.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Thanks for the chat, man. Really enjoyed that one, and always great. And I know that we've been waiting for this one for a little while. Yeah. Obviously, you guys have so much on the roadmap and so much coming up. I'd love to have you back for another chat after maybe in the next couple of months. We'll get it sorted, and after all this developments drop with you guys, it'd be great to chat again and see where you guys are going and how everything's standing.
Definitely, would love to hop back on when you have the new D app live. Maybe you can take a live through or walk through of the onboarding. I think it'd be really sweet, and we can dive into a little bit more about the ZK side, because I think we can always talk about more about that and the use cases behind Polyhedra. It's immense.
Absolutely, yeah, man. We love a good use case, and we love partners like you guys that are doing, have such great utility and shaking and cooking in the market. So thanks for joining us again. To all the community, I'm sorry we didn't have time for the Q&A section, but I'm sure we will have Diarmuid back shortly, and we'll go through it again. But till then, have a great day out there, man, and I'll chat to you soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks everyone for listening.
See you guys.
Take care, Anthony.